Imagine this: you're in the middle of a conversation that could completely change your life, whether it's negotiating a raise at work, closing a massive deal, or resolving a personal conflict with someone close to you. You've read all the negotiation books, followed every tip you've come across, and still, it's just not working. You feel stuck, frustrated, and no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to get the other person on your side. What if I told you that the key to turning things around is the exact opposite of what you've been taught? What if the real solution is to get the other person to say no? Yes, you heard that right. In his best-selling book Never Split the Difference, former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss reveals why pushing for a yes in negotiations is far less effective than aiming for a no. And today, I'm going to break down why this simple, yet counterintuitive, approach can revolutionize how you negotiate and, ultimately, how you achieve success in your personal and professional life. But before we dive into this life-changing strategy, make sure to hit that subscribe button. On this channel, we explore game-changing tactics for personal growth, communication, and achieving success. If you're serious about becoming a more effective negotiator and unlocking doors in every area of your life, you don't want to miss out on our future content. Let me start by sharing a personal story that perfectly illustrates this concept. A few years ago, a friend of mine was in the middle of closing a huge business deal. She was confident, well-prepared, and determined to get a yes. After all, that's what we're all taught, right? Say the right things, lead the conversation toward agreement, and secure that yes. But as the negotiation unfolded, she noticed something unsettling. The more she pushed for agreement, the more the other party pulled back, becoming increasingly withdrawn. Her frustration grew. She couldn't figure out why her efforts weren't working. It wasn't until she came across Chris Voss's techniques that she had her aha moment. Her mistake? She was too focused on securing a yes instead of exploring the power behind a no. Chris Voss's approach teaches us that no is not the end of the conversation, it's actually the beginning of a deeper and more meaningful dialogue. When someone says no, they aren't shutting down the conversation, they're asserting control over it. No provides a sense of security and autonomy, and that's when the real negotiation begins. Now, I can almost hear what you're thinking, but isn't negotiation supposed to be about reaching a win-win? It's one of the most popular negotiation ideas out there, right? The idea that both sides should walk away feeling satisfied sounds great in theory, but Voss flips this notion on its head. He argues that aiming for a 50-50 compromise often leads to mediocre outcomes for both parties. Let's look at an example. Imagine you and a friend are trying to decide where to eat. You're craving sushi, but your friend wants pizza. The typical win-win solution might be to go to a restaurant that serves both. But does that really make either of you happy? Probably not. You both end up with a compromise that's far from ideal. What Voss suggests is moving beyond compromise and truly understanding what the other person wants. Maybe your friend is craving comfort food, and you just want something light. Instead of compromising, you find a creative solution that leaves both of you more satisfied than splitting the difference ever could. Think back to the last negotiation you were involved in. Did you find yourself pushing for a compromise, or did you truly explore the other person's needs and motivations? Did you settle for less than what you really wanted because it seemed fair? Let me know in the comments if you've ever felt like compromise left you with a less than perfect outcome. I'd love to hear your experiences. Now, let's dive into one of the foundational lessons from Never Split the Difference: active listening. Most of us think we're good listeners, but are we really? The truth is, most people aren't listening to understand, they're just waiting for their turn to speak. That's a huge mistake, especially in negotiations. Voss emphasizes the importance of truly understanding the other party's perspective. It's not just about hearing the words they say, it's about understanding the meaning behind those words. What are their fears, desires, and motivations? Only when you can grasp the deeper layers of their communication can you guide the conversation toward a productive outcome. Here's an interesting fact: Chris Voss, as an FBI hostage negotiator, had to rely on deep, active listening to save lives. In those high-stakes situations, missing even the smallest clue could mean disaster. And while you might not be dealing with a hostage situation, the same principles apply in everyday negotiations, whether you're trying to close a business deal, resolve a conflict, or even get your kids to do their homework. So, here's a challenge for you. In your next conversation, whether it's at work or at home, practice active listening. Don't interrupt. Don't plan your next response while the other person is speaking. Instead, focus entirely on what they're saying and summarize their points before you respond. This simple exercise can drastically change the dynamic of your conversations and negotiations. The next lesson from Voss's book is one that can shift your mindset. Negotiation is not about winning or losing, it's a process of discovery. Too often, people approach negotiations like a competition, but that mindset limits your ability to understand the other party's true needs. One of Voss's most powerful tools for discovery is mirroring. Mirroring involves repeating the last few words the other person said. It might sound awkward at first, but it's incredibly effective. When you mirror someone, you encourage them to elaborate, revealing more about their true motivations. It creates a space for deeper exploration and understanding. Here's an example. One of Voss's clients was in a tough negotiation for a business contract. The other party seemed hesitant, holding back critical details. But after the client used the mirroring technique, something incredible happened. The other party started opening up, sharing their real concerns and needs. It wasn't long before both sides found common ground, and the deal was sealed. Have you ever used mirroring in your conversations or negotiations? If so, how did it work for you? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Now, let's talk about a powerful tool called tactical empathy. This isn't about agreeing with the other person or giving in to their demands. It's about showing them that you understand where they're coming from. It's about acknowledging their emotions, fears, and desires in a way that creates trust. For instance, if you're negotiating with someone who's visibly frustrated, you might say, "It sounds like you're feeling really let down right now." By labeling their emotions, you diffuse the tension, making it easier for them to open up to your ideas. There's a key difference between empathy and sympathy that's worth pointing out. Sympathy might involve saying something like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," which can come across as dismissive. Empathy, on the other hand, shows that you truly understand and acknowledge the other person's feelings without necessarily agreeing with them. In your next difficult conversation, try labeling the other person's emotions. You'll be amazed at how quickly it can shift the tone of the discussion. Stick with me because at the end of this video, I'll be sharing a surprising negotiation tip that could instantly boost your success in any conversation. It's a technique that's easy to apply, and you'll start seeing results immediately. Here's where things get really interesting. Contrary to popular belief, getting a no doesn't mean the negotiation is over. In fact, it's often just the beginning. Chris Voss explains that when people say no, they feel safe, they've regained control of the conversation. This feeling of safety opens up space for real dialogue. Think about it, how many times have you felt pressured to say yes to something, only to immediately regret it? Saying no gives you the freedom to explore options without feeling trapped. So, here's your next challenge. In your next negotiation, instead of pushing for a yes, try asking a question that invites a no. For example, instead of asking, "Is this a good time to talk?" say, "Is this a bad time to talk?" This small shift can make a huge difference. Now, here's the tip I promised, the 7-38-55 rule. This rule suggests that in communication, only 7% of meaning comes from the words you say. A whopping 38% is conveyed through your tone of voice, and a staggering 55% comes from your body language. So in any negotiation, what you say is important, but how you say it and how you carry yourself is even more critical. Next time you're in a negotiation, pay close attention to your tone and body language. Are you conveying openness, confidence, and empathy? Practice maintaining a calm, open posture, and use a tone that invites collaboration instead of confrontation. Watch how this changes the dynamic of the conversation. To wrap things up, let's quickly recap the 5 key lessons from Never Split the Difference. Active listening. Understand not just what the other person is saying, but what they truly mean. Deep listening is the foundation of any successful negotiation. Negotiation as discovery. Treat negotiation as an opportunity to uncover the other party's real needs and desires. Tactical empathy. Acknowledge the other person's feelings without necessarily agreeing with them. The power of no. Don't fear the word no, encourage it, it can lead to more honest and productive conversations. Nonverbal communication, remember that tone and body language are just as important, if not more so, than the words you use. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever used any of these techniques in your negotiations? Which one are you most excited to try? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll be the first to get more videos that can help you level up your communication and negotiation skills. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share it with someone who could benefit from these insights. Before we wrap up, I want to recommend another must-read book on negotiation and persuasion, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. This classic explores the psychology behind why people say yes and how you can apply these principles to influence others ethically. It's a great companion read to Voss's Never Split the Difference. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep negotiating smart, and take care.